Hello world, and welcome back to Crazy Talk, aka 5% Talks Crazy. I'm Kai, your new host. Brittany is no longer the host because she was, abducted from some aliens during her visit to New York. Brittany will be greatly missed, but not really because we replaced her with Jaya.
Hey guys, I'm Jaya, your other new host. I'm so excited to be Brittany's replacement. Brittany, it was a good run, but all things must come to an end. We're going to do things a little differently today. On the show today, we have some special guests from the multicultural side to Greek life here at Penn State to talk to you in an extended interview about racial culture and fraternities and sororities.
Crazy Talk, aka 5% Talks Crazy. We'll be right back.
Welcome to 5% Talks Crazy. Today's guests are Taylor and Terrell. How are you guys?
Doing pretty well.
Oh, that's good.
So, for those who don't know you, could you just give us a brief introduction about yourself?
So my name is Taylor Witter. I am a current junior here at Penn State, majoring in biology and minoring in Spanish, and I am a sister of Chi Epsilon Sigma National Latin Sorority Incorporated.
Nice.
And I am Terrell Finner. I am a senior here majoring in health policy and administration, and I'm a brother of the Mighty Gamma Nu chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay, well, can you guys tell us a little bit about your organization, starting with you, Taylor?
I actually joined Chi Epsilon Sigma a year ago today, was my crossing.
Well,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we were founded on April 29th, 1980 at the Rutgers University, New Brunswick by 7 Latino women. And we are really big on educating, elevating, and empower women. And our 4 values actually are leadership, sisterhood, service, and character. So here on the Penn State community, we try to do a lot of service, empowering the young women around the community, within the community, and anything that we can to uplift women. We're really big on that. Our national philanthropy is actually the I Have a Dream Foundation, which helps young students in high school get scholarships to go to college and pursue higher education.
Nice,
So.
nice.
Ooh, where were you when I needed you?
Right?
And I was initiated into the organization fall 2013. And I joined the organization because I saw a lot of what the members of the organization were doing on the campus, the amount of influence that they had with people in the minority community and outside the minority community. And just a little brief history about our organization. We were founded on December 4th, 1906 at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. And we were the first interfraternal organization at a college campus for minorities. So we kind of were the start of a movement of what we consider to be historically black fraternities and sororities. And here on campus, we're really big on upholding our aims of manly deeds scholarship and love for all mankind, as well as service. And so we have a host of programs as well as initiatives that we carry through, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about that later on.
So what has changed for both of you since joining this organization? How has your life transitioned from before and now?
I would definitely say it's busier. There's a lot of work that comes with running a chapter and being a part of a fraternal organization.
Right.
You get to build great connections, you get to do great things in the community, but it does take a lot of work, and sometimes that that work may not be well received by the community, especially at Penn State, because we go to a predominantly white institution. It can be very hard to see those efforts that you put out, for people to understand why you're doing those things and to actually come out to those events. So it's been really hard for me, especially because I'm only a junior. I crossed last year, so I've had this whole year, and I also have next year. So the goal is how can we reach a larger crowd at Penn State, not just the minority community, but also the white students as well.
So I think I know for me a lot to agree with Taylor. I know it's definitely, my life has become more busy, but then you're also under a large degree of scrutiny because the amount of people that are minorities in minority fraternal and sorority organizations on campus is so small that everybody notices what you're doing or what your organization is doing. And then there's a constant push from your national office and local office to do more activities and to be more present on campus as well as balancing other obligations and being involved in other organizations and trying to focus on uniting the community and uplifting and making it a more welcoming environment for students of color, as well as those who aren't necessarily students of color.
Okay, and what would you say would be some of the biggest things that your organizations do for this campus in particular?
I'll start. So I know my organization has annual events that we always hold. I know our Alpha Week, which is held in the fall, is a week of programming where we have community service opportunities as well as educational opportunities for students through various programs that we hold. And then we have our signature Ebony and Ivory Week, which dates back to the early 1970s, where our chapter reaches out to other IFC, which are predominantly white fraternal organizations on campus, and hosts a week of programming. We've also done work with the Multicultural Greek Council during our Ebony and Ivory Week. And then our signature event is probably our Black and Gold pageant, which highlights the achievements of minority women on campus. They have the opportunity to participate in our national pageant if they move forward, and we offer them a scholarship. So those are our main events. But then we do have programming that we have throughout the year, as well as other community service opportunities as well. So.
And for us, we also have a week of programming throughout the fall and also in the spring. So our Founders Day is coming up at the end of this month. So we usually try to do a week of educational events leading up to that. Excuse me. And with that, we are trying to collab with other organizations on campus that are not a part of the Greek community and that are able to reach out to a larger crowd, because it's not just about educating the students of color, because we could sit down and have those conversations all the time, but it's not gonna help the situation that's going on our campus. So we're really big on that. And so we have we have a barbecue in the fall every year, which is a great time for us to bring together all the Greek community fraternal organizations and just have some unity. And then in the spring, we have a really big program. It's called Afro-Latina Hair Confessions, and we have collaborated with a student organization called Locks on campus to talk about how the women are portrayed in the media and how their hair can affect, their portrayal amongst, in the media and amongst their communities on campus and stuff like that. So we try to do as much programming as we can to reach the community on Penn State's campus.
Okay. So I know what happens during Greek Week. How does that? What I'm trying to say. Basically, how has it impacted you being around the white fraternities, the white sororities? Being so diverse around everyone. How's that week for you? Greek Week. Sorry.
I think Greek Week is definitely an awesome opportunity for anyone who is affiliated with the Greek organization here on campus. I think the numbers are somewhere around 7,000 students in total.
Wow.
That's in between all four councils. And so being so small, and Taylor can attest to this, within the Multicultural Greek Council and the National Pan-Hellenic Council, which is typically known as the Divine Nine or MPHC, we definitely get the opportunity to showcase what we do. We get an opportunity to interact with different organizations. We're all split up into small groups, so we're paired with IFC and Pan-Hell organizations, and so it's really a good time. But I know that there's some concern from minority students about how involved we are within Greek Week, so we're more proactive now with the planning of it.
Nice.
And making sure that we get our representation since it's
up in the world.
Yeah, that's good.
Because piggybacking off of what he said, we actually, my chapter decided not to partake in Greek Week this year.
Really? Okay.
Because we feel as though it's not beneficial to us. We're so small, the amount of money that we have to pay towards Greek Week stuff, the amount of people that you need to go to these events, we just felt as though last year we didn't get that much out of it.
Right.
We didn't necessarily feel like there was that unity amongst our, group of organizations that we were paired with. So we decided, we wanted to take that time this year to put it towards things that we were very passionate about and take the time to plan those events. So we are not participating in Greek Week this year.
Wow.
I'm glad you actually touched on the whole white frats and black frats,
Right.
same as the sororities, because we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about a very controversial video that hit the internet. So stick with us and come back. Welcome back to the 5% Talks Crazy. So my first question I would like to pose to you guys is, last month, a video of Oklahoma State University's chapter of Sigma Alpha Epsilon's fraternity went viral. The frat was recorded singing a racist chant that included the use of the N-word, among other hurtful speech. Do you think that this chant speaks to the long history of racial segregation in Greek organizations?
I think to a certain extent it does, especially I know considering the history of my fraternal organization. The whole reason why my fraternity was founded was because African Americans at Cornell in the early 1900s could only be students there. They couldn't be involved in any student organizations on campus. So we took that power, which speaks to a long history of I guess, it speaks to a long history of African Americans in this nation, and we formed our own organizations. So I think it does speak to a long history of racial segregation in organizations, and even if you look at the racial makeup of fraternal organizations at Penn State, they're very, they fall along racial lines. So IFC is majority white, and they have a good amount of Hispanics, but very few African Americans. And then when you look at MPHC, we're 100% African Americans. So I think that it definitely does speak to it to a certain extent.
Okay.
The same for my sorority. We were founded at Rutgers during a time when Latinos weren't highly accepted on the campus. And by looking at me, you wouldn't know, but I'm actually, I mean, I guess you could, but I'm not Latina. I'm Jamaican. Both my parents were born in Jamaica. But for me, like joining us, a lot of people are like, well, why are you joining a Latina sorority? Like, what does that have to do with anything? But it wasn't for me. Like, for me, it wasn't who they were defined about. It was the values that they uphold. So, I mean, I do understand the whole racial segregation in Greek organizations is very prevalent on this campus. Just for, like, even for me, people, like, were like, why are you in that organization? So I could see that. And it is very hard for us to reach people who are not of Latina descent. You know, I'm one of the few on this campus. We actually just had another girl come into the organization this spring who is African American. So we're doing our best to like break down those racial segregations, but it's still really hard. On a predominantly white campus, it's hard to get people who are of minorities to come into your organization.
Speaking of predominantly white, so Penn State University is known as a predominantly white institution. Do you think that the Divine Nine's presence on a predominantly white campus serves as a facilitator or for the student integration, or what do you think?
I know the Divine Nine definitely gives us, I think it's important for African American students at a PWI to have a safe space or to have a certain area where they feel comfortable being themselves, being around people who look like them. But I definitely think that the MPHC's presence does facilitate student integration because not only within our organizations do we do things that allow us to interact. Like we have very close ties with Chi Phi fraternity, which is an IFC organization, as well as SAE here. And so because we have our organizations and we're still a part of that Greek life umbrella, IFC is more or less, IFC and Penn Hill are more or less pushed to recognize us as organizations here, where if we weren't necessarily organizations on the campus, it would be kind of like we wouldn't exist or we wouldn't be as noticeable. They wouldn't notice our presence. So.
Okay. Yeah, I would say the same thing that Terrell's saying. It does serve as facilitation. It gives us the opportunity to reach out to people because we are a Greek organization, it does give us that opportunity to reach those students, but at the same time, it can be really hard because we get overshadowed by the predominantly white sororities and fraternities because they're so large and because they get so much spotlight.
Yeah.
So kind of backtracking on what you said when you said that you are, African American woman that's in a predominantly Latina sorority. what would you say to, because I see it all the time on the internet, like a white Q or a white Kappa, you know, like.
And everyone gets excited.
Everybody gets so excited,
Yeah.
oh my God, I saw an Asian AKA, and I was like, oh my goodness, they are just getting bold.
Yeah, they
so
are.
like, what would you say to anybody at this campus, at Penn State at least, that, you know, are kind of interested in your organization but kind of is discouraged because they feel like because it's MPHC or the Multicultural Council, they feel like, oh, well, maybe they might not, you know, want me to join their org because I'm not of the predominant, you know, being predominantly Black or Latina. So what kind of advice would you give to that interest?
You have to step outside of your comfort zone. It was the same way for me. It was like, how am I going to fit in there? But you have to look to the people before you see, like, you have to look to their personality and the things that they're going to bring to the table and the things that you can bring to their table before you look at the color of their skin.
Right.
And that could be hard. It can be hard. It was hard for me for a while, and especially the backlash I got. People were like, well, why don't you join a predominantly Black sorority? First off, for me, we didn't, at the time when I joined my organization, there were no predominantly Black sororities currently on campus. So that was one thing that served to my choice. And then also the people that I got to meet, the sisters that my RA was actually, she's actually a sister. She crossed when I was one of her residents. So seeing that and the great things that she's doing on campus, that was what brought me in. And you have to look at the things that they're doing before you think, okay, well, because they're Black or because they're Latina or because they're Asian, I'm not going to fit in. Because you'll fit in.
What do you think, Terrell?
I know for my organization, especially, we don't have on campus currently, we're only made up of African Americans, but I do have brothers at different chapters that have more diverse chapters on their campus. And I would say, I mean, just step out. I mean, we're really open. I know my organization has been open to any ethnicity since 1945. And that was before my organization, 2 years before my organization was chartered here. But I think that, I think it's just hard for students who are not part, outside looking in, they might be very intimidated, but we encourage you to just come talk to us.
So do you think that every fraternity and sorority should be classified as Black, or this is the Black frat or the white frat? Do you think that it should just be fraternities, like the fraternity, the sorority? How do you feel about that?
I know for my organization, it's very important that we keep hold to the fact that we were an African American organization. All of our charter members are African Americans.
Right.
We were founded out of a need for African Americans to have that, African American males on a predominantly white campus, to have a space where they felt they can make a change, where they felt that they were in a safe zone. And they had people that looked like them and experienced the same struggles that they had because of the way they looked.
Right.
And so we encourage anyone who recognizes and appreciates the fact that African Americans have had to struggle, especially in achieving higher education, to join our organization. We don't feel that we need to hide our history or make our history less important just out of the need to attract more white members or Asian members, because we recognize that everybody knows the history of African Americans in this country. But we still encourage members who aren't African American to join.
Okay. I'm actually going to throw a little question in there, just a little jab, nothing too serious. But how do you feel about Greek Switch? I know I see Greek Switch within MPHC, and then at other schools I'll see Greek Switch with the IFC and the MPHC. So do you think that would go over well here at this campus for MPHC and IFC? And even in the MPHC, because I haven't seen a Greek Switch in the past couple semesters, you know, so how do you kind of feel about that?
Well, when you say Greek switch, are you talking about fraternity switching?
Okay, yeah, for some people that don't know what Greek Switch is, it's basically when a frat acts like a sorority and a sorority acts like a frat. Of course, the frat one, generally frat, is not going to work.
Right.
I already know it's not going to work. If a frat acts like another frat, that's not going to happen. But, you know, if, you know, a frat acts like a sorority, sorority acts like a frat within MPHC and then outside of MPHC, how do you think it will work?
I think it will work. I don't think necessarily anybody has pushed it. I know we're working hard to bring a lot more of the MPHC sororities back. And they will be back very soon. And so I think that I think it would go over well. I just don't think that we've had. I know for within the MPHC, because we only have one sorority here on active on campus.
And that was just last semester. So.
That,
Yeah,
Really?
that
and that was just last
recent.
semester,
Yeah.
and so I think that is probably why you haven't necessarily seen that. But I think as we work toward building a full Divine Nine, then it could potentially happen. So.
Okay. What do you think, Taylor? How do you think your org feels about
So
it?
we actually, before I became a sister, two of the sisters did a Greek switch, and they pretended to be another Latino fraternity on campus, Lambda Sigma Upsilon Latino Fraternity Incorporated. They had a good time, but there was a lot of backlash from the alumni that didn't necessarily appreciate it. So, I mean, for the undergrads, it was fun,
Yeah,
but
you would never think.
Yeah, you have to be careful
Right.
of the things that you say and the things that you do. Like they strolled and they did a few steps and they dressed like them, but the way that it had initially started was a way that it shouldn't have started. So a lot of people didn't like it.
So talking about the feedback. So was a lot of positive or more negative feedback with the Greek switch?
I would say for people here, I think it was pretty positive. I think
Right.
that they had a good time.
'Cause it
That-
sounds interesting,
Yeah,
actually.
they thought it was
I'd love
fun.
to see that. Why not?
They thought it was fun, but it's just because like that's not the organization you joined, so why are you
Right.
pretending to
Right.
be them?
Right.
So it could be really hard.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to pose another question to you guys. So just stick with us.
Welcome back to the 5% Talks Crazy. So we have another question. Why do you think that there are minority students at Penn State that choose to join predominantly white fraternities and sororities over the Divine Nine and multicultural Greek organizations?
I would say because the historically white fraternities and sororities, I mean predominantly white, sorry, they get a lot more publicity than we
Right.
do.
Okay.
So you have like a national rush week. They have a rush week here at Penn State. We don't have that. So that's like the first thing that you get to know when you come on campus. It happens very early in the semester.
Right.
And the process is a lot different for them than it is for the organizations in the Divine Nine and in the Multicultural Greek Council. So I think that can speak to why some minority students do decide to go that way, because they're like, oh, well, you know, this seems pretty good. I met you at the involvement fair, and you're like, okay, yeah, come to this event, and then within like, you know, a few weeks, you're probably becoming a sister or a brother of that
Right.
organization.
How do you feel, Terrell?
I think that they just have more, going off of the more publicity, but they have more money in their larger organizations. I know IFC basically operates off of like a 6-figure budget as a whole. And so they have a lot of, they have a lot
that's
of
a big
ability
budget.
to, pretty big. But I mean, they're so large.
Right.
And they have a huge alumni base. But I think that because they have so much ability to really influence what goes on campus, like, I mean, they started Thon, you know what I mean? And so, like, I just think that they have so much more power, and the fact that it's much easier to join an IFC organization than it is to join an MPHC.
I feel that way too.
or
You're
multicultural
absolutely
organization.
right. And I would definitely say, like, the promoting of it, when you come into Penn State, you know, that first day, you're hit with all these, you know, sororities and frats.
Organization.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
you, with the MPHC, it's like,
have
you
to
gotta
search for
know,
those.
you gotta
Mhm.
search, and then, is this an interest meeting? Is this not an interest meeting? Like, you don't know, are they recruiting? Are they not? Like, you know, this, that, and the third. So it's like kind of a guest thing, whereas them, they're like, yeah, come over here, come be us. No, come be us. No, come be us. You know, so I would have to say, like, you know, especially if somebody doesn't have like social media, they don't know, like, you know, see like the flyers around and stuff like that. So I would definitely say it's just, they just hit you hard.
I know.
And so you're like, oh, let's rush. By the way, what is rushing?
Okay, well, we do not rush, so I can't give you like the exact
Right.
thing. But from what I've been told by some of my residents who actually have decided to rush last semester, you go and they have like kind of like 15, 20-minute like sessions within each different sorority. I can only speak to how that works for sororities. I don't know fraternities, but
Right.
like you might go into a room and like there'll be 30 girls there, and then some of the sisters will come and they'll talk about what they do and all those types of things. But what I've heard is you don't necessarily know which sorority it is that you're talking to.
What?
It's very confusing
So you're
to
just
me.
talking to
So
somebody.
Yeah,
not
so you might
knowing.
just be
People,
talking to
like-
people, and then at the end you decide, like, so then you put in a bid and you'll put down like, okay, I want to talk, I'm interested in number 1, number 2, and number 3. And then if your choices line up with their choices,
Right.
then you might get picked. But they also have a thing called suiciding, where you can decide, oh, I'm
That does
only
not
in love
even
with
sound funny.
sorority A, so I'm only going to write sorority A's name down.
Okay.
So if sorority A decides not to pick you, but you only pick them, then that's it. You don't get a bid.
Wow.
So a lot of my girls decided to suicide, and some of them didn't get the bids that they wanted. So
Wow.
it was really, you know,
That's unfortunate.
it's very
Yeah.
sad. There was some crying.
I can
Yeah,
only
I
imagine. I
remember.
can only imagine.
Yeah, I remember I walked into the hub and it was like these two girls like crying on like the floor, and one was
No
on the phone
way.
with her mom. Like,
Oh
I'm
my God.
calling, you know, whatever it's called. Corporate, whatever they're, you know, like the top person,
Nationals,
national.
yeah. Right.
I'm calling nationals. My mom is a blah blah blah. And, they didn't pick
And it
me. I'm
happens
like,
because you
oh my
have
goodness.
girls who are legacies. Their mom was in
Yeah.
it, and they don't get picked. Their
Yeah,
grandma was in it.
grandma. Like,
So
yeah.
it just sounds like it's just like to gain popularity and
I mean, some people think
You
of
know?
it that way because a lot of the things that they do, like they raise the most money for Thon,
Okay.
and then they have these socials. Like for some people, it seems like it's just a big party.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm not in one. I can't speak
Yeah,
to
of
the
course,
things that they
of course,
do
right.
outside of that. But a lot of the times, what I'm seeing is, you're going to a social, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night.
Yeah.
You're going out and being sober sister to help, because you know that you're gonna go out and get too drunk. But I don't know what they do. I'm sure they do community service, and they have their philanthropies that they raise money for. So there's goods and everything, but there's always going to be problems that you have within different organizations.
I can only imagine.
Okay. Actually thinking of rushing, there's a lot of terms in Greek life that I've always wanted to know what they mean. So if you're able to, fill me in.
Okay.
Let's start with LBLS.
Okay.
What is that?
So
Hashtag LB.
Hashtag LB
So-
lit.
LB and LS are terms used for the people that are going through your process with you or
Okay.
joining the organization at the same semester, same date of initiation. So
Okay.
So
those
your
are the
line
people.
brother.
Your
Line
line brother
yes.
or
Your
line
line
sister
sister.
is your LB and LS.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always thought little, but then that's little and big and little. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
the
what I
white
thought, like
brand.
little.
Yeah, I was like,
brother,
little. Why is your
sister.
little brother the
No,
same?
no. Line brother and
You know.
line sister.
All right.
Okay. What about sands? What's a sand?
So a SANS, those are people who cross within different organizations, but they cross during the same semester.
And same year.
So yeah, the same year. So like all the people who are crossing like at Penn State right now. So crossing means to join the organization.
Okay.
If you are officially recognized as a brother or a sister. So the people that are going to be doing that in spring 2015 would be SANS.
Oh,
okay.
So yeah.
So
Okay.
they're crossing the sands.
Cr-
Did I say that correct?
crossing the sands.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense. I never
I
looked
always
at it
wanted
like
to
that.
know that. I was like,
I'm like,
what
why they call
sands are
them
they talking?
sands?
Because I'm
Like-
pretty sure the
like the
probate was
dirt?
outside on the
Yeah,
concrete.
that was the concrete.
Right?
I don't
It
know
was-
why they
So
do
it's a metaphorical
Oh,
term
yeah.
for
Okay.
joining the organization,
Organization.
completing your journey towards the organization.
Oh, okay. What about Neo?
So a neo is a neophyte, which is a person who's new in the organization.
Okay, so a new person.
Yeah, and then you have a prophyte, which is a person who's no longer new. So once you bring in a new line within to the chapter, you're considered a prophyte.
Okay.
Oh.
So I just crossed 4 girls into my organization a few weeks ago. So now I'm considered a prophyte, and they're now considered my neos.
Oh, okay.
And so they look to you as a prophyte.
Yeah,
And-
and then I have prophytes, and
So
they
like
have
a
prophytes.
prophyte is kind of like a mother in a sense. Like,
No, not necessarily a mother,
Or
but it's like
okay.
Just the older member.
Oh,
Somebody,
okay.
just a general term for somebody who crossed the organization before.
Before
Okay,
you did,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, my favorite one is ADP. Don't know what that is.
So ADP is like, it stands for Assistant Dean of Pledges.
Okay.
So like you have a Dean of Pledges and then you have an Assistant Dean of Pledges, and those are people who are simply there to aid you in your process.
Okay.
They're people who are like in charge of the paperwork and stuff like that that's involved with bringing the line in,
Oh, okay.
as well as like any, like if you have an issue you would go to that either the DP or the ADP in order to like figure it out. Like,
So
so
they're
they're
like
just,
the head.
they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a
They're
president.
head of the
So-
Neos, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, in a way.
Yes.
And then ours terms, so you might, I don't know if you've heard of PM and APM.
No.
So we use that term, which is pledge mistress and assistant pledge mistress, and they do the
Oh,
same
okay.
thing.
Okay.
So, but they
The
just,
ladies.
yeah.
Just helping
different
out
names.
with bringing the new line,
Line
in.
in,
Those
yeah.
are people who are delegated with that.
Okay, my last term would be probate. So what's a probate?
So probate for us is, some people have different terms for probate, but I know for my organization, the probate is a period when you reveal yourself to the general public as being somebody who pledged that organization. So that's when you are revealed to the public as somebody who
That's
joined
when you
the organization.
surface back up
It's like a
because
show.
you go, you disappear.
Yeah, and it's a show.
It's like a show.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like a coming out, you might hear coming out show,
Coming out show.
neophyte presentation,
Okay.
things like that.
Yeah, I've heard those.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just
so
like,
they're all
what?
like they're all the same.
So
Oh,
no,
my
just
also
for joining the
presentation. Should I
organization.
bring like a notebook
I
or
know,
like?
camcorder, maybe.
Oh yeah, I love when I see all the parents and stuff.
Yeah,
It's so
right.
cute.
I know.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then I'm gonna hit you guys with one more question. Stick with us.
Welcome back to 5% Talks Crazy. So for our last question, guys, what do you see happening for your organizations in the future at Penn State?
I know it's very important for my organization to continue to prosper on campus.
Okay.
We've been here since 1947, and so it's very important for us to continue doing our work, continue uplifting the community, as well as to bring brothers into the organization and to provide Penn State with an outlet to be a better place for minority students especially. So.
Okay.
So we are still pretty new on campus. We were only founded back in 2000. So we continue.
baby.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we were only founded in 1980,
Right,
so
right,
we're still
right.
we're
Yeah.
35 years this year.
Oh,
So
man.
we're just hoping that we can continue to make strides here, grow our chapter. We only have 32 members in our chapter right now, so we're hoping, to keep increasing that number and to bring in not just, women, but quality women.
Right.
That's what we believe, quality over quantity. So to hopefully to keep bringing in those quality women, but to also diversify our chapter and
Right.
diversify our organization as a whole, and to continue to do positive things on Penn State's campus and collabing with, other organizations and to
Nice.
make positive strides.
Okay. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have our closing thoughts. Stick with us. Well, that concludes our show for today. I would like to thank my guests for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us as well. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. I mean, I've learned a lot. Have you learned a lot?
Yes, I've definitely learned a lot, and a lot of stuff I didn't know, now I know.
Yeah, so hopefully the world knows a lot as well. But definitely thank you for coming on the show today,
No
guys.
problem.
And of course, if you want to know more about these two organizations, feel free to find these two and ask them questions.
Yeah, I don't bite.
I'm pretty sure they're not gonna bite you.
And I would like to give a thank you to PSNtv, the 5%, and Crazy Talk for the collaboration. We did the thing. So everybody have a good night and stay tuned for more episodes.